Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. The icy wind of early winter in San Francisco cut straight through my coat as I stepped out of the auction house near the Embarcadero. My name is Serena Vaughn. I am 34 years old, and for the past 3 years my work as an antiques appraiser has been the only lifeline keeping me from sinking into the quicksand of my past. I had just left a 3-hour Asian art auction, my mind still sorting through provenance notes and hammer prices, when I slowed in front of a high-end children's boutique, intending to grab a small gift for my niece back home in Maryland. I was about to push open the glass door when my feet seemed to bolt to the sidewalk. On the other side of the window, under the gleam of a crystal chandelier, a man knelt on the polished floor, carefully tying the laces on tiny leather shoes. A beautiful little boy of about 3 stood wobbling in front of him, grinning. Beside them, a woman with a mass of glossy curls rested an expensive designer bag on her arm, watching with a satisfied smile. It was a picture of warmth and completeness, the kind of scene that makes strangers smile. Except my blood ran cold. The man's face turned slightly as he tugged at the laces, his brow creasing the exact way I remembered. The small mole just behind his left ear, the strong line of his jaw, the way his lips pressed together when he concentrated. It was all etched into my memory. I did not have to blink twice. It was my husband, Wesley Morgan, the man I had buried in my heart and on paper 3 years earlier after a supposed plane crash over the Atlantic. The man whose framed memorial portrait still presided over the cold house in Maryland where I had cried myself dry. The child had Wesley's eyes, wide and expressive, and his nose, that slightly proud bridge I used to trace with my finger when we shared a bed. As for the woman, I recognized her instantly. Rochelle King, his former executive assistant. The same woman he had sworn about time and again. "Do not be suspicious, baby," he had told me. "She is just an employee. She has a rough family situation. I am mentoring her." Apparently that mentoring had expanded into a son, a new life, and a wardrobe of luxury. The cashmere coat on his shoulders, the gold watch on his wrist, the handbag hanging from Rochelle's arm. I knew their value at a glance. As an appraiser, I could calculate them like a ledger. With a stab of nausea, I realized I had personally paid for nearly all of it. I had sold the brownstone my father gave me before our wedding. I had sold the jewelry my mother left me and the rare pieces my parents had collected over a lifetime to cover the $2 million of debt Wesley supposedly left behind. All to protect his name and save the family estate. My first instinct was to storm into the boutique, drag him out by the collar, and scream his name until the polished floor cracked. Instead, the training that made me one of the country's top appraisers whispered in my ear. Keep a cool head. Observe. Document. Before you issue a verdict on any piece in front of you, you study it from every angle. I stepped back into the shadow of a street lamp, pulled up my hood, and with trembling hands raised my phone. I zoomed in, capturing every affectionate touch, every smile. The boy laughed. Wesley ruffled his hair like a proud father. When he looked toward the window, I ducked my head so fast I nearly lost my balance. I could not let him see me. Not yet. A scene in the middle of San Francisco would accomplish nothing except tipping him off and giving him time to hide whatever he had stolen. I needed a plan, something careful and ruthless, worthy of the damage he had done to me. I hailed a taxi with a voice that barely sounded like mine and said, "San Francisco International Airport, please." The driver nodded and pulled away from the curb while I clutched my phone as if it weighed 1,000 pounds. As the taxi wound through the city, lights streaked across the rain-damp glass. The skyline blurred, and I could not tell whether the distortion came from the drizzle or from my own tears. Somewhere between the financial district and the highway, I understood something final and irrevocable. The lovesick, loyal woman named Serena who had worshipped Wesley had died on that sidewalk. The woman flying back to Maryland would be someone else entirely. Someone who had nothing left to lose. On the overnight flight to Washington Dulles International Airport, just outside Washington, District of Columbia, I curled into my first-class seat, refusing the flight attendant's offer of wine. "Ice water, please," I said. "As cold as you can make it." I needed something icy to tame the fire climbing up my throat. As the plane surged into the dark sky, I stared at the window and remembered the day my world shattered 3 years earlier, when the news had reported a crash in the Atlantic and read Wesley's name off the list of missing. I remembered collapsing in our living room and waking up in a hospital, my mother-in-law's wailing filling my ears. No intact bodies had been recovered, only fragments. The authorities said his remains had been identified through dental records, and a tiny tissue sample matched to his parents' DNA. Nobody questioned it. I did not question it. I had clung to his portrait and wept until I could hardly breathe. Creditors arrived like vultures, waving promissory notes with Wesley's signature totaling $2 million. They said he had borrowed heavily to invest in high-risk ventures that had gone bad. His parents, Franklin and Dolores Morgan, nearly collapsed. Franklin suffered a stroke that left him partially paralyzed, and Dolores slipped into a dramatic, noisy depression. She grabbed my hands, her eyes streaming. "Serena, my daughter, what a tragedy. Our boy is gone and left us this mountain of debt. Your father-in-law and I are old. We can only count on you. Do not abandon us. Do not let them take the house." Out of love, loyalty, and sheer shock, I had nodded. I sold everything my parents left me until there was almost nothing left but the antiques I refused to let go. For 3 years, I lived like a ghost in their old manor in Potomac, Maryland, paying hospital bills, utilities, staff salaries, and the mountain of so-called debt. Every night at 10 o'clock, Dolores brought me a steaming cup of dark herbal tea. She claimed it was an old family tonic to restore strength. "You work too hard for this family," she would say. "Drink this and rest." I drank it gratefully. Over time, my period became irregular, my body heavy and tired, my skin pale despite my efforts to stay healthy. I thought it was grief and exhaustion. I did not know better. When the plane touched down at Dulles and I stepped into the biting air of Washington winter, I felt as if I were shedding a skin. The taxi ride from the airport to the quiet road in Potomac, where the manor stood, felt both familiar and alien. The house, with its stately columns and manicured lawn, had once felt like a sanctuary. Now it looked like a gilded cage. I pushed open the door and was greeted not by warmth, but by Dolores' sharp voice drifting from the living room. She lay draped on an expensive leather sofa wearing a white facial mask, berating the housekeeper about shrimp sizes. "Do you not know the difference between jumbo and whatever this is?" she snapped. When she finally looked at me, tired from the journey, she barely shifted. "You are back. Why so late? You know there are few people in this house. Your father-in-law is sick. You need to learn to come home earlier." "No, how was your trip? No, are you safe?" Only complaints and demands. I set my suitcase down and forced a thin smile. "The flight was delayed. I am sorry. How is Franklin? Has he been comfortable?" Dolores huffed. "No better. The medicines cost a fortune and do nothing. By the way, how did the San Francisco project go? Did you get paid? Next month we have to cover the hospital, the utilities, the staff. Hundreds of expenses, and everything falls on me." Hearing her say me, as if I were not there, made something in me snap quietly. I bowed my head, excused myself, and climbed the stairs to the bedroom that felt more like a tomb. Once inside, I locked the door and slid down against it, breathing hard. The room was frozen in time. Our wedding portrait still hung above the bed. Wesley's smile, once a comfort, now looked like a mask carved for a liar. I walked to the vanity and picked up a framed photograph from an anniversary trip. In it, he was gazing at me with adoration, promising forever. I turned the photo face down on the table. It was over. The blind devotion of 10 years had just been buried. From the bottom of my suitcase, I pulled out an old prepaid burner phone and a new SIM card I had bought at the airport in San Francisco. My hands trembled slightly as I slotted it in and dialed a number I had not called in years. It rang 3 times before a deep, slightly sleepy voice answered. "Hello, this is Harvey Lane." I swallowed hard. "Harvey, it is Serena. I am sorry to call you so late. I need your help with something urgent." Harvey, my father's longtime attorney and closest friend, immediately heard the strain in my voice. His tone sharpened. "Serena, what is wrong? Take a breath and tell me." I stared at the dark window, my reflection ghostly in the glass. "I need you to activate whatever protection you can. Separate everything my parents left me from any marital property with the Morgans. And I need you to quietly reopen Wesley's plane crash case. I have reason to believe he is still alive." There was a stunned silence, then the scrape of a chair and the rustle of papers. "Understood," Harvey said. "Do not worry. I will start tonight." The next morning I slipped out at dawn under the excuse of meeting a client. Instead of heading to an office tower, I walked into a small coffee shop tucked into a quieter street in Washington. Harvey sat at a corner table with a steaming mug of black coffee and a thick folder already waiting. When he saw me, He frowned at the dark circles under my eyes and pushed a cup of ginger tea toward me. "Drink this," he said gently. "If your father could see how tired you look, it would break his heart." I slid a flash drive across the table and told him everything. The boutique in San Francisco, the little boy, Rochelle, the watch, the bag, the way Wesley had smiled as if he had never known grief. Harvey watched the video without speaking, his brows pulling lower with every passing second. When he finished, he removed his glasses and wiped them with a slow, deliberate motion. "That man is not just selfish," Harvey said quietly. "He is criminal." Then he opened his folder and showed me the anomalies he had uncovered overnight. "Here," Harvey said, tapping a photocopy of dental records. "These are the records used to match the remains to Wesley. But the date was altered. The original file shows his dental history was updated at a private clinic only 6 months before the crash. The dentist is an old friend of his. It is highly suspicious." He flipped to another page, the DNA report. "This tissue sample matches his parents by 99%, which proves a close relation, but not necessarily him. A cousin, for example, would match almost as well. I am already checking whether any other relative of his disappeared around that time." Every word felt like someone pulling threads out of the fabric of my life, revealing a pattern I had refused to see. Wesley's frequent trips, the secretive phone calls, the unexplained expenses before the accident. All of it suddenly lined up. He had not died by chance. He had staged his own disappearance. "Harvey," I said, my voice steadying as rage replaced grief, "I want to build a legal firewall. Separate everything my parents left me, the inheritance, the antiques, the brownstone money, from any claims by Wesley or his parents. And I want to gather evidence of whatever they have been doing with my money." Harvey rested a hand on my shoulder. "We will," he promised. "We will dismantle every lie." Back at the house, I threw myself into a performance. I stopped being the generous daughter-in-law who never complained when Dolores demanded new medications or delicacies. One night, I asked the housekeeper to cook simple collard greens and cornbread for dinner instead of seafood and Virginia ham. Dolores stared at the table in disbelief. "What is this?" she snapped, banging her fork. "Are we starving now? Where are the crab cakes, the roast duck?" I forced my eyes to redden and let my voice tremble. "I am sorry, Ma," I said. "My work has gone very badly. The San Francisco client is withholding payment. The company owes us months of salary. I had to sell the last piece of jewelry I owned just to keep the bank from foreclosing. Right now, there is not a single dollar to spare." Her expression shifted from anger to wary calculation. "That is impossible," Dolores protested. "You are a director in a major group. How can you have no money for groceries, unless you are hiding it?" I let the accusation stab me as if it were real. Tears spilled down my cheeks and landed on my plate. "Hiding it," I repeated. "I sold my dowry. I sold my parents' house. I sold my father's pieces. What do I have left to hide?" I pointed to a stack of foreclosure notices Harvey had prepared. Perfectly legal copies meant only to frighten. "If you do not believe me, look. They are threatening to seize everything." Suspicious and rattled, Dolores snatched the papers, skimmed the figures, and went pale. She did not finish her dinner. Over the next several days, I cut off every luxury. I downgraded Franklin's medications to generic brand prescriptions covered by insurance, canceled Dolores' spa deliveries, and insisted we cut the electricity bill by lowering the heat and turning out lights. Dolores paced the halls like a caged animal. She feared more than anything becoming the one who had to support me. In front of her, I looked exhausted and defeated. Behind her back, I watched the security camera feeds on my phone. One afternoon, while I pretended to be out trying to borrow money, Dolores slipped into the study where my father's remaining antiques were displayed. Through the hidden camera, I watched her hungry eyes roam over porcelain vases and bronze sculptures. She lifted one particular 19th century ceramic vase and stroked it with a possessive hand. "Your father's things belong to this family too," she muttered. "You did not pay for them alone." Then she pulled out her phone. "I have some antiques to sell," she whispered to someone. "Bring cash. I need the money fast." Sitting in my car a block away, listening through my phone, I dug my nails into the steering wheel. That vase was not original. It was a restoration I had commissioned from my mentor. Hidden in its base was a tiny tracking chip. More importantly, the hidden camera recorded Dolores wrapping it in newspaper, slipping out the back door, and haggling with a rough-looking man who offered her a pitiful $500. She took the money with shaking hands, stuffing it into her coat with greedy delight. Enjoy it, I murmured to myself. It will be your one-way ticket to justice. That night, Dolores brought my usual cup of tea to my room at 10 o'clock sharp. The bitter herbal smell hit my nose and turned my stomach. She set it carefully on my nightstand with a falsely gentle smile. Serena, drink your tea while it is hot. You have been so thin and tired. You need nourishment to keep working for this family. I managed to smile. Thank you, Ma. I will drink it once it cools a little. When she left, I poured the liquid into a glass jar I had hidden in my closet, wiping the rim clean. The next morning, I carried the jar into the office of Dr. Leonard Price, an old friend of my father and a respected expert in natural medicine. His small clinic smelled of herbs and old wood. Dr. Price examined the jar, sniffed it, and tasted a single drop. Then he took a sample and slid it under a microscope. The longer he studied it, the tighter his mouth became. Finally, he removed his glasses and looked at me with deep concern. Serena, he asked quietly, how long have you been drinking this? Every night for 3 years, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. My mother-in-law says it is a tonic for beauty and relaxation. Dr. Price shook his head sadly. Beauty, he repeated. This is a very old, extremely toxic formula. In the past, it was used to sterilize women. In small doses, it may not cause immediate harm, but taken continuously as you have done, it leads to ovarian atrophy, severe hormonal disruption, and eventually permanent infertility. The word permanent slammed into me. The floor seemed to tilt. I clutched the side of the examination table to stay standing. Tears streamed down my face as Dr. Price continued, his voice trembling with outrage. That is not all. This formula also weakens the entire body, causing fatigue, apathy, and a dulling of the will. Whoever gave this to you wanted you compliant and exhausted, too tired to resist. I thought of the nights I had knelt in church asking for a child, wondering why my body refused. I thought of Dolores' soft voice saying, "Drink, Serena. It is good for you." My grief hardened into something cold and sharp. "Doctor," I said hoarsely, "I need your help. Please write an official report with your seal, detailing everything this tea does." Days later, Harvey summoned me back to his office. This time, the thick dossier he placed before me was not about a crash. It was about money. "Brace yourself," he said. The first pages showed my in-laws' bank records for the past 3 years. While Dolores had sighed about poverty and begged me to cover every bill, sizable transfers had flowed into their accounts each month from shell companies registered in Delaware and Nevada. The memo lines read charitable donation or medical support, but Harvey traced those companies back to accounts Wesley controlled under false names. "Most of this money," Harvey said, turning the page, "ends up in a secret trust fund registered in Delaware called the Kendrick Trust." He showed me the beneficiaries listed: Wesley and a minor child named Kendrick Morgan. "Your husband has been hiding money offshore inside the country, funneling it through his parents while you sell your heritage to pay fake debts." I stared at the neat letters of the trust's name until they blurred. His cruelty was bottomless. He had used his parents as a shield and me as a mule. "Can we charge them with money laundering?" I asked quietly. Harvey nodded. "We are building that case already. We just need one last piece that will bring him back to American soil." To bait Wesley, I needed something he could not resist. So I drove out of the city to a quiet farmhouse in rural Maryland where my first mentor, a master restorer named Jonah Ellison, lived. His brick patio was damp with moss, and the air smelled of clay and tea. Elder Jonah, as everyone called him, sat by a stone table pouring tea into small cups with steady hands. When he saw me, he smiled warmly. "Serena, child, it has been too long. Come sit." We exchanged a few pleasantries before I finally told him everything. Wesley's fake death, the debts, the betrayal in San Francisco, the poisonous tea, the stolen antiques. Jonah's hands tightened around his cup as I spoke. When I finished, there was a dangerous glint in his eyes. "Some people do not deserve the beauty of art," he said. "They deserve prison." I slid a small brocade box toward him and opened it. Inside lay a golden ceramic shard the size of my palm, glowing softly under the light. "This is the last authentic fragment my mother left me," I said. She said it was all that remained of a legendary golden luster bowl that had been in our family for generations. Jonah put on magnifying lenses and studied the shard with the reverence of a believer. "This glaze, this metallic reflection," he murmured. "It is extraordinary. Do you know what this could fetch at auction?" I nodded. "I do, but I am not here to sell it. I am here to ask you to grind it into powder. Jonah jerked his head up. Are you out of your mind? He demanded. To destroy a treasure to make a forgery? I met his gaze steadily, even as my chest ached. If I keep this fragment in a box, it is just a memory. If we sacrifice it to create a full bowl, even a fake one, it becomes a weapon. Wesley is greedy and vain. Only a masterpiece that appears beyond price will lure him out. Silence stretched between us, filled only by the wind moving through the trees. Jonah looked from my face to the shard and back again. He saw the determination in my eyes, the pain and the fire. Finally, he sighed and touched the shard one last time, as if saying goodbye. All right, he said. I will do it. Not to betray my craft, but to defend it, and to honor your parents. I will use this fragment, my own secrets, and the best clay I can find to resurrect the bowl. It will be as real as life itself, and it will be the sweetest trap a greedy man has ever walked into. While Jonah worked in his workshop, I deepened my act at home. I announced that we could no longer afford Franklin's expensive treatments and had to switch entirely to what insurance covered. I fired the housekeeper, claiming I could no longer pay her, and took over cooking and cleaning myself, fumbling intentionally to make everything feel more dire. The manor grew cold and dim. Dolores grew more frantic, whispering on the phone, shuffling through drawers, counting her dwindling cash. Through the cameras, I watched her slip into the study whenever I left, hunting for anything else she could secretly sell. When Jonah finally called me back to his farmhouse and placed the finished golden luster bowl into my hands, I almost could not breathe. It shimmered with the same hypnotic glow as the shard, its delicate patterns dancing under the light. On the base, Jonah had carved a tiny crescent moon, a detail he and I invented to give the piece a legendary signature. I knew when Wesley saw that mark, his imagination would do the rest. I thanked Jonah with tears in my eyes, promising that this sacrifice would not be wasted. Back in Potomac, I locked myself in the study and set up a video call with an art dealer in Chicago, a man named Victor Hale, who had known my father. Victor answered with his usual half-interested, half-greedy expression. I spoke in a guarded, mysterious tone, telling him I had access to a golden luster bowl of unparalleled quality from a prominent family that wished to remain anonymous. At first he laughed, but then I tilted my camera and slowly rotated the bowl under a soft light. The golden surface seemed to capture the sun itself. Victor went silent, leaning so close to his screen I could see his pupils dilate. My God, Victor whispered. If that is what I think it is, collectors will tear each other apart for it. I pulled the bowl back. The owner does not want it in a museum, I said coolly. She wants a discreet sale to someone who values heritage. Someone willing to pay enough to save her family business. Spread the word in your most exclusive circles. But be careful who you mention. She wants proof of seriousness before she will speak to any buyer. Victor nodded eagerly. Leave it to me. This will be the talk of every serious private collector in the country by tomorrow. Within a week, an encrypted message arrived from Victor. He sounded breathless. Serena, there is one client who stands out. He calls himself Mr. C, a wealthy businessman based in Nevada. He not only offers an outrageous sum, he seems to know a great deal about golden luster pieces. He says owning this bowl has been a lifelong dream, and he wants it as an heirloom for his 3-year-old son. When I read the attached email, my lips twisted into a bitter smile. Mr. C, a son turning 3. The language was dressed up, but the arrogance underneath was familiar. Wesley had taken a new name and a new state, but he had not changed. I replied through Victor, insisting that Mr. C send proof of his financial strength before any negotiations. I demanded a list of assets he would be willing to put up as collateral, including photographs and documents of ownership. 3 days later, Victor forwarded a password-protected file. You need to see this, he wrote. My stomach clenched as I typed in the code. The first page displayed a colorful porcelain cup from a royal Chinese dynasty that I had dusted in my father's study as a girl. The next pages showed a tall vase I used to stand beside and a scroll my father treasured. Piece after piece from my parents' collection paraded across the screen, now listed as Mr. C's property. I pressed a hand over my mouth to stifle the sound that escaped my throat. I remembered how, before his death, Wesley had volunteered to help my father check the vault where the antiques were stored, claiming he wanted to share the responsibility. My father had trusted him completely, giving him a key. Now I knew that while we believed he was inspecting for damage or dust, he had been replacing originals with high-quality fakes and smuggling the real pieces out. Every object on that list was a confession written in porcelain and ink. From that point on, I communicated directly with Wesley using an anonymous email account called the Guardian of Memory. His first message tested me with technical questions about the bowl. He asked about the thickness of the walls and whether there was a drip of glaze at the base, a term I had jokingly coined years earlier while teaching him to distinguish real from fake. Seeing my own words come back to me like a weapon, I almost laughed. I answered him calmly, confirming the glaze drip, and adding our invented crescent moon signature as a rare feature mentioned only in obscure sources. If he had truly been an expert, he might have questioned it. Instead, Wesley wrote back in a rush of excitement. "Fantastic," he said. "The crescent moon confirms everything. Name your price. I will pay whatever you ask." I named a number high enough to buy an entire building in downtown Washington. He did not hesitate. His only condition was that the deal take place in a maximum security bank in Chicago, supposedly for safety. I answered with the imperious tone of a stubborn traditionalist. "This bowl has been away from its homeland too long. It must be sold in the house where my ancestors' portraits still hang. Either you come to my residence in Maryland for a private ceremony, or the sale is off." For 2 days he was silent. I imagined him pacing in some fancy rental in Nevada, torn between suspicion and greed. Finally his response arrived, dressed in respect. "You are right," he wrote. "Heritage matters. I will come to Maryland as soon as I can arrange travel." I forwarded the email to Harvey, who had been working quietly with federal agents and an international task force tracking stolen art. He took the bait, I told him. Harvey called me within minutes, his voice electric. "We will be ready. As soon as he arrives and tries to complete the transaction, we will move." Through Harvey's contacts, we watched Wesley scramble to pull money together. He sold the stolen chicken cup to a casino owner in Las Vegas for far less than its value. He sold the towering vases to a wealthy collector in Houston. Each sale was monitored by investigators who documented the transactions as clear evidence of trafficking in stolen cultural property. He liquidated stocks, mortgaged everything he owned under his new identity, and drained the accounts Dolores had fed from the shell companies. By the time he booked his flight to Washington, he was overextended and desperate, convinced this bowl would save him. The night before his arrival, I prepared a feast in the Potomac house. I set a bouquet of white roses, Wesley's favorite, on the dining table and opened a bottle of vintage wine my father had saved for the birth of his first grandchild. Dolores and Franklin stared at the spread of roast duck, crab cakes, and fresh seafood as if they had stumbled into the wrong house. "What is going on?" Dolores demanded. "Last week you said we barely had money for bread." I poured her a glass of wine, its deep red color catching the light. "I have thought things through," I said quietly. "The hard days are about to end, and our family is about to begin a new chapter. I wanted us to share one last dinner together." Dolores' eyes gleamed with sudden hope. "I knew it," she said. "My daughter-in-law is resourceful. When Wesley comes home, everything will be fine. Eat, Franklin. Eat and get your strength back." I watched them devour the food that my money and my father's sacrifices had paid for and felt only a dull disgust. When they had eased into a comfortable fullness, I slid a thick envelope across the table to Dolores. "I have a gift for you," I said. She eyed it warily. "Open it." With shaking hands, she pulled out the stack of photographs inside. In them, Wesley stood in front of West Coast storefronts, smiling with Rochelle at his side and their son Kendrick perched on his hip. There were photos of them at playgrounds, at restaurants, in luxury stores. A complete family, radiating happiness while I had worn black and lit candles for him. Before Dolores could deny what she saw, I turned on the television. On the screen appeared footage from the hidden camera showing her sneaking into the study, wrapping antiques in newspaper, and selling them at the back door. Her own voice echoed through the room. "Sell it fast and send the money to Wesley. To hell with his wife." Dolores dropped the photos, her face draining of color. "Serena," she whispered. "You knew? You recorded me?" I stepped closer and lowered my voice. "You sold my father's memories behind my back. You put poison in my tea every night for 3 years. You tried to turn me into a childless servant. Did you really think I would never open my eyes?" Dolores collapsed to her knees, grabbing my skirt. "It was not my idea," she wailed. "It was Wesley. He begged me. I just wanted to help my son and my grandson." I pulled my leg free as if she had burned me. "You wanted my money and my obedience," I said. "You almost destroyed my body." I have given everything I am going to give. I pointed at the television, where the video replayed. These files are already with the police and the prosecutors. Tomorrow, when your son walks into this house, it will not be as a savior. He will walk in as a suspect. She fainted on the rug. I did not call an ambulance. Early the next morning, I stood at their bedroom door as a taxi idled outside. Dolores woke up looking 10 years older. "Serena, please," she begged, falling at my feet. "Forgive us. After all, you and Wesley were married for 10 years. I stepped back. "Do not talk to me about love," I answered. "You sold that long ago. This house is mine, and I will not pay to shelter people who tried to destroy me. You can ask your son in Nevada to take you in, or you can walk into the nearest police station and tell them the truth. Either way, you are leaving today." She stared at me as if I had struck her. "But what about the house in Savannah?" she whispered. "We plan to retire there." I met her eyes. "You sold it to send money to Wesley, remember? You told the ancestors to bless your grandson. Perhaps they will. You can take Franklin and your suitcase. That is all." Security guards carried their bags down the steps while neighbors peered from their windows. Dolores shrieked about ungrateful daughters-in-law, but nobody moved to help. They had watched me care for those two for years. When the taxi drove away, the iron gate closed with a final, satisfying clang. The house fell silent, but for the first time, I felt free. Around noon, Wesley's flight landed at Dulles. I knew because a private investigator had installed a tracker on his phone. He arrived at the Potomac house in a black sedan with tinted windows, accompanied by a lawyer and 2 bodyguards. A message pinged the anonymous email account. "I am in Washington. Where is the location?" I typed slowly, 18 Quiet Lane, Potomac, Maryland. The address of the house where I now stood waiting, wearing a blue silk dress the color of the bull's glaze and the sky after a storm. Through the security camera, I watched him step out of the car. He wore a tailored suit and the same confident smirk I had fallen for in college. He glanced at the house with mild curiosity, clearly believing it had been sold to the mysterious seller. When I opened the heavy wooden front door, our eyes met for the first time since his death. For a split second, shock cracked his expression. "Serena," he breathed. "You are still here." I smiled, soft but lethal. "Hello, Wesley. It has been a long time. Come in. We have business to discuss." He hesitated, then signaled to his lawyer and bodyguards to wait by the car. "Family matter," he murmured to them, straightening his tie. Inside the living room, he paused at the sight of the white roses, the decanted wine, and the neat tea set on the table. He laughed. "Trying to welcome me home?" he asked. "Serena, if this is some attempt to win me back, it is unnecessary. I came to meet the owner of this house and close a deal, nothing more. Take whatever money you need for your trouble and move on with your life." I took my seat opposite him and folded my hands. "You came to meet the owner of this house," I said quietly. "You are looking at her. You came to buy the golden luster bowl. The seller is sitting right across from you." His laughter stopped. The color drained a little from his face as he picked up the property deed I slid toward him. My name printed clearly as sole owner. Next to it lay a copy of the dating certificate he had received, with my handwriting in the margin. "How?" he stammered. "You were the guardian of memory?" "You underestimated me," I answered. "You taught me that love is blind. You forgot that betrayal clears vision better than any lens." Wesley tried to recover his balance. "Well," he said, forcing a charming smile, "if it is you, all the better. We can keep the transaction in the family. Give me the bowl, and I will pay you what we agreed. After I sell it, you will never have to work again. Consider it my gratitude for taking care of my parents." His gaze flicked around the room, noticing their absence. "Where are they, anyway?" "Gone," I replied. "Just like your conscience. But we will get to that." I poured tea into 2 cups and slid one toward him. He eyed it suspiciously. I lifted my own cup and drank. "Relax," I said. "I am not as cruel as your mother. I want you alive, Wesley. I want you to feel everything." He still did not touch his cup. I leaned back and studied him. "Tell me something honestly. In these 3 years, while you were building a new life, raising Kendrick, spending my money, did you ever feel remorse? Even once?" For a moment, he looked away. When his eyes returned to mine, they were colder than I remembered. "Remorse?" he said with a sneer. "Serena, you always were naive. In business and in love, the strong survive and the weak get trampled. You were soft, trusting, predictable. You played the part of the good wife, so it was easy to leave you with the mess. That is not cruelty. That is reality. Love is cheap. Money and power are what last. The last fragile thread binding my heart to him snapped without a sound. I stood up calmly and walked to the glass cabinet. From it, I lifted the red brocade box and brought it to the table. Wesley's eyes followed every movement hungrily. When I opened the lid and the golden bowl appeared, his breath caught. He reached for it with shaking hands, turning it to catch the light, murmuring in awe. "It is perfect," he whispered. "Here is the crescent moon, just as the old text described." He clutched the bowl as if it were a holy relic. "Name your price again. I will still pay it." Instead of answering, I pulled out my phone and placed it on the table. At that exact moment, his own phone rang. The screen flashed the name of a Las Vegas contact. Trying to impress me, he put the call on speaker. "I am in Maryland," he said. "The deal is about to close." A furious voice exploded through the line. "Close? Do you realize what you have done to me? Federal agents just seized every piece you sold me. They say they were stolen from a family in Maryland and have international alerts attached. My accounts are frozen. They know your real name, Morgan. You are finished." I gave them everything to save myself. The line went dead. Wesley's phone slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. He stared at me, his face drained of all color. "You," he whispered. "You went to the authorities. You betrayed me." I met his gaze steadily. "You betrayed yourself," I replied. "I simply sent ownership records and photographs to the people whose job it is to protect what my family spent a lifetime preserving. They waited, like I did, for you to sell enough pieces to build a case that could not be escaped." Wesley clutched the bowl like a lifeline. "I still have this," he muttered. "I will sell it and start over." The front door opened. Heavy footsteps echoed in the hall. A group of agents in dark jackets entered, followed by Harvey carrying a thick case file. One agent read a warrant aloud, charging Wesley with insurance fraud for staging his death, money laundering through shell companies, and trafficking in stolen cultural property. Wesley lunged toward me, eyes wild. "Tell them I am your husband," he shouted. "Serena, say this is a misunderstanding. Do you want the world to know you helped set me up?" I rose slowly and stepped back. "My husband died 3 years ago," I said. "Whoever you are just a man who used my name, my love, and my family to feed his greed." The agents pulled his hands behind his back and snapped on handcuffs. He thrashed, shouting toward the table. "Do not touch the bowl," he screamed. "It is real. I have a certificate. It is mine." Harvey looked at me, his brow raised in silent question. I picked up the bowl, feeling its weight one last time. Wesley watched, panting, eyes locked on the object he believed would save him. I met his gaze and let a small, sad smile curve my lips. "You still trust what you see more than the person who created it," I said. "Let me show you the truth." Then I opened my fingers. The bowl hit the tile floor with a sharp crack, shattering into glittering pieces. Under the convincing glaze, fresh clay showed through, pale and uniged. Wesley screamed, a choked, broken sound, as if I had smashed his heart. "Why?" he gasped. "Why would you destroy something worth so much?" I shook the dust from my hands. "Because it is a fake, Wesley. Just like your love, just like the life you built on my inheritance. I used the last fragment my mother left me to make this trap. I sacrificed the only tangible piece of my family's legend to expose the lie at your core. That is what you gambled everything on, a handful of clay and your own arrogance." His shoulders sagged, and whatever defiance he had left drained out of him as the agents led him away. The trial 3 months later drew attention throughout Washington and beyond. I took the stand not as a grieving spouse, but as the guardian of my parents' legacy. Calmly, I explained how Wesley had staged his death, how he had manipulated his parents, how he had fed me poison and sold my father's treasures. Harvey and the prosecutors presented financial records, intercepted emails, the video of Dolores' sale, Dr. Price's report on the tea, and documentation from every buyer who had purchased stolen antiques. Faced with evidence that filled boxes, Wesley finally pleaded guilty. He received a sentence that would keep him behind bars for the rest of his natural life. Rochelle, who had helped move money and conceal assets, was convicted as an accomplice and sent to prison as well. As for Franklin and Dolores, the loss of the house, the scandal, and Wesley's conviction crushed what little stability they had left. Franklin suffered another stroke and was moved to a public nursing facility on the outskirts of the city. Dolores pushed his wheelchair down narrow hallways that smelled of disinfectant and regret. I visited them once, more out of duty to myself than to them. Dolores looked smaller, her hair now mostly gray. When she saw me, she opened her mouth, perhaps to ask for help, then closed it again under my steady gaze. I did not offer money. I placed an old photograph of the family from years before greed had devoured their hearts on the bedside table. In the picture, we were all smiling at a cookout, unaware of the storm ahead. "This is all I have left for you," I said quietly. "Memories of who you used to be." Then I turned and walked out, leaving them with their remorse. A year after Wesley's sentencing, the old Potomac Manor had changed. With Harvey's guidance and the cooperation of law enforcement, I recovered many of the stolen pieces from collectors across the country who, once informed of their origins, chose to return them rather than face legal action. The house became a small private museum I called the Sanctuary of Souls. Sunlight filtered through tall windows onto glass cases where vases, scrolls, and carvings glowed with a calm, steady beauty. Each piece was labeled with my parents' names, honoring the years they had spent preserving them. One crisp autumn morning, I walked through the garden holding the hand of a little boy named Noah, whom I had adopted from an orphanage a few months earlier. He had bright, curious eyes and a gap-toothed smile that warmed every room. The doctors told me the damage from the tea meant I would never carry a child of my own, but I had learned that motherhood is not written only in blood. It is written in choice and care. Noah tugged at my hand when we passed a case displaying the fragments of the shattered golden bowl. "Mama," Noah said, pressing his face to the glass, "why do you keep that broken one? It is not as pretty as the others." I knelt beside him and smoothed his hair. "Because that broken bowl taught me the most important lesson of my life," I told him. "Sometimes what shines brightest on the outside is only pretending. And sometimes the things that look cracked and imperfect are the ones that are truly precious." He considered this with a seriousness that made me smile. "Mama," Noah asked a moment later, his voice softer, "where is my daddy? My friends at school talk about their dads. Why does mine not come here?" My chest tightened, but the pain did not feel like an open wound anymore. It felt like a scar that had healed. I looked up at the sky, where white clouds drifted lazily across a wide blue expanse. "Your father," I said gently, "is someone who went very far away to learn that choices have consequences. He is paying for his mistakes. But you have me, and you have a grandfather in heaven who loved you before he even knew your name, because he loved me." Noah nodded slowly, then wrapped his arms around my waist. "I will protect you, Mama," he said with childlike conviction. "I will not let anybody hurt you again." I hugged him tightly, breathing in the scent of grass and sunshine in his hair. The wind rustled the leaves of the trees lining the garden path, and for the first time in many years, the sound no longer reminded me of storms. It sounded like a new season. As Noah ran ahead to chase a butterfly, I walked behind him, my steps unhurried. The past was locked where it belonged, in court records, in prison walls, in the shards of a broken bowl. The future stretched in front of me like a clear road, lined with the quiet strength of the objects my parents had entrusted to me and the small hand that would hold mine on the journey. Justice and happiness, I had learned, are not gifts someone hands you. They are things you fight for piece by piece until they finally, firmly belong to you. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.